Welcome to Bartolomeo Meo Mugiwara fans. One of the most commented topics lately is about who is going to be the next Straw Hat after Wano's arc. This seems to come from something that has happened in this arc that hasn't happened in any other before and which we'll analyze here. But I want to start with this old saying. If it looks like a Straw Hat, talks like a Straw Hat, and acts like a Straw Hat, it most likely will be a Straw Hat. And this is what is happening with Carrot. Any doubts someone could have before reaching Onigashima should be cleared by now. It's not only that she is coming from sailing with the Straw Hats, because that can be applied to Kinemon, Momonosuke, and where are they now? Everyone is with their people. But Carrot arrived on board of the Sunny, did her welcome hug to Jinbe, like the rest of the Straw Hats, got into Frankie's tank, and now that all the Minks are doing what they came for, fighting Kaido and Jack using their Sulon form, she's still with the Straw Hats. Will she save her Sulon form for helping her Nakamas later on? Well, probably. For me, she's already the Straw Hats lookout, just waiting for the confirmation by the end of this arc. And being close with this, we can go now to that something that has happened in this arc I was mentioning before. Luffy arrived at Wano, and since then, he keep getting offers for sailing with him. First was Tama. Caribou asked the same at Udon, and a few chapters ago, Yamato did. I've seen discussions about if Tama or Yamato will be a Straw Hat, but notice that Luffy has answered yes only to one of them, and that one is Caribou. Then why nobody's considering him for next Nakama? Well, because nobody wants him, but that conversation is still there. There doesn't seem to be enough time for what it takes to be a new Straw Hat. If we look at the newcomers after entering the Grand Line, they have taken time. The only ones who have joined the crew in the same arc in which they were introduced were Chopper, Frankie, and Brook. But the rest have been through multiple arcs until being confirmed. And that includes Carrot and Robin, who officially joins the crew after Enies Lobby. In all three cases, the characters appear at the beginning of the arc and have a leading role along it, fighting together with the Straw Hats, and in all three cases, they had a role that the Straw Hats were already looking for: a doctor, a shipwright, and the musician that Luffy wanted since the very beginning. This cannot happen with the new candidates. But Luffy has already agreed to Caribou's request, so what's going to happen here? Well, if he survives to this arc, Caribou will sail with the Straw Hats. Let's recall there is no need to be a member of the crew to sail with them. We have lots of cases here. They mention Kinemon and Momonosuke, but also Pecoms, Trafalgar Law, Caesar Clown, Keimi, Hachan, etc. Caribou has no place in Wano and will need to live there, and Luffy has already agreed to take him, so even though we don't like this, I can only see them leaving Wano together. He can still make some merits in this war to make this idea look better for us. This is not meaning that he is going to go with them until Love Tale. Oda would need to put a lot of work on the character to make us like this idea. I think it's more likely that he will find his place along the way, rather soon. You've probably already noticed that the Straw Hats have never killed anyone, or rather, we've never seen them kill anyone. Not even those that start out as foes. Robin arrives to the Merry and says that her specialty is assassination, so we can assume that she has killed before, but we didn't see her doing it in Arabasta. I even can think that the reason for Pearl being still inexplicably alive, which has remained as the example of how Oda can bring characters from death magically, is because Robin hurt him before the incident with the bomb, and she cannot be blamed for his death in any way. We could see how she broke Spandan's spine too, but we have already seen him alive too, right? Oda is putting some effort into this. With all the people that have been cut by Zoro, we could assume someone have died, even if it is from those 100,000 enemies in Fishman Island. Well, we can assume whatever we want, but even though we've seen plenty of blood from a lot of them, we haven't seen anyone die. Not by Zoro's swords, not by a cat from Brook, not even by a missile from Frankie. Even Monet had to be killed accidentally by Caesar. This seems something that Oda is going to turn into an advantage later on, and all those villains Luffy has spared their lives will end fighting along him in the final war, at least the most of them. I'm bringing this now for a reason. We've seen Caribou killing a Navy soldier, so you can be certain there is no chance for him to be a Straw Hat. But he can sail with them, and actually, he already has. We've seen Trafalgar Law killing Virgo, so that doesn't seem to be an issue to sailing with them. Let's talk about Yamato now, a character that has been introduced just a few chapters ago, so it's too early to see where her path can take her. We cannot blindly trust her first words, but since it is the only thing we got, if by the end of Wano's arc she keeps stuck on being Oden, it would be logic if she gets on the Sunny. And if so, then yes, I believe she would get to Love Tale with the Straw Hats. Basically, the same that Oden did with Goldie Roger. I'm reminding here, Oden was not a member of Roger's crew. He belonged to Whitebeard's crew, and Roger asked him just for 1 year. I don't think that is making him member of the crew. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi were there too. The fact is that even though he ended up being treated like one of them, he was probably not. The same could be for Yamato. In the case of Oden, he was needed because he could read the poneglyphs, and that's why they took him. For Yamato though, she could still have some information needed by the Straw Hat in the Oden's diary that I don't think she would share in exchange of nothing. If she wants to go with them so badly, that could be her ticket. And it's also true that anyone leaving Wano with the Straw Hats have the chance of keep making merits in future arcs to become one of them. There are not many arcs left, but enough for one last Nakama. But, as I said, that's the first deduction after that first conversation with Luffy. This can still take many turns, and Yamato could end by acquiring a different role either in Wano, if she managed to get along with the Kozuki clan, or overseas, as the leader of what will remain of the Beast Pirates. This is a huge group, and once they will lose Kaido, something must happen to them. Some could leave the group, since we know there are several former captains there, but even with that, only with the pleasures, gifters, and numbers make thousands of people that hardly fit anywhere else by their own. They could end up as Luffy's allies led by Yamato. You can see what I'm meaning when I say there are lots of possible paths. I'm only trying to highlight the ones that I think more likely. And we have Tama left. She's a kid, but that shouldn't be an issue to sail on the Sunny since Momonosuke is also a kid and has been there. But if, like before, we stick on Luffy's words, he hasn't agreed on taking her. Rather, on the opposite, since what he said was that he will make sure that when they leave Wano, it will be a place where she will be able to eat as much as she wants. But the reason I saved Tama for last is because there is so much mystery around her, specifically in this character, with whom she was lived all this time. I think this is the most mysterious character in the entire arc. He was introduced as Tenguyama Hitetsu, blacksmith and Kokeshi doll collector. He said that he was also waiting for someone, meaning that just like Tama was waiting for Ace, he was waiting for someone else. He also mentioned being a descendant of the one who made the Nidai Kitetsu, and that he himself created the Sandai Kitetsu, the cursed sword that brings sorrow. For some reason, he's the one that kept Oden's swords. He also mentioned that there were reasons why he couldn't go to the town, but that he had allies there who would help Luffy and Tama if they found them. About that so specific and unrelated fact that he's a doll collector, we haven't seen any in his house. However, the only other reference to these Kokeshi dolls is the one from Brook when he finds a poneglyph in the Shogun's castle, which seems to be in the same place. Can you see what I was meaning by all the mysteries? And on top of that, his face is permanently covered by a mask. All these facts seem to point that he's someone trusted by the Kozuki, because otherwise he wouldn't keep Oden's swords. Who could have lived in the castle, because it is there where the dolls are. And someone that we probably know, because if not, he wouldn't hide his face. From what can be guessed behind the mask, he's an old man with white hair. I cannot find enough clues to come up with a solid theory about who he could be. I can only think that he must be someone we saw in Odin's backstory and never knew his name. I can only point to one character that meets these conditions, who we could see several times 20 years ago, but from whom we know nothing nowadays, and it is this servant of the Kosuke family, who was with Oden's father, and after Orochi became shogun, he was with Toki and the children. He had nothing to make us think he was a blacksmith, but serving the Kosuke is not incompatible with it, and I have no better candidate. But in any case, this mystery touches Tama too, since he has been raising her for several years, which is a lot for an 8-year-old girl. And we know nothing about her family. Oda could make any move here. Everything is possible. I can see even the chance that she is the daughter of Toki and Oden. Because I really think Toki is alive, and if I'm right, she should appear by the end of the arc. I cannot see how someone that has a power that allows her to escape from death, and besides, has a reason for doing it, wouldn't do it. Oden left her a letter passing to her the mission he brought from Loftel. Prepare the country of Wano to receive those that will take part in the great war that is to come. That's not Wano's war, but the world war. And that's what she's been doing by sending her son and some red scabbers to the future, previous to that war, in order to bring the allies from Sue and fight. I think she's the one that was pretending Biko Murasaki when she's killed in Orochi's castle. Someone must have given Hitetsu the swords to keep, and more strings that she could have been pulling that would also give a possible answer on who Hitetsu is waiting for. Besides, Oda already said that after Wano's arc there would be revelations about Lovetail and the One Piece, and it would also fit that she could help there with all the knowledge that we are assuming she brings from the Void Century. The point is there is a way for her jumping to the future being pregnant, and it would be this big surprise for Tama, who doesn't know who are her parents. Tama also seems to have a chance as Momonosuke's future wife, and that wouldn't be possible if she were his sister. Too many options here. But we can be certain that a big revelation is coming from these two, Tama and Hitetsu. And yes, I have omitted to talk about Hitetsu's wings because I really hope they're just one more complement to the Tengu costume he's wearing, like the clothes, the high sandals and the mask, because if not, if he came from a sky island, then things would get even more complicated. With the link that seems to be between Sky Islands and the Great Kingdom of the Void Century, it would lead me to think he could be someone that Toki had brought from the past, which would fit with the history we can presume from the Sandai Kitetsu, which he claims to have followed. It seems to go beyond one generation, so far from his age, no matter how old he is. But that's a door I don't want to open, at least for now. Well, I know I've been leaving lots of things open, but at least I pointed the options that I like more and match with what we have. So as usual, I hope you like this analysis, and if so, we might meet in another video. See ya!